opens up 1 week from today, and we
Zach,
got.
it's already going on. It's already
I'm
going
sure.
on.
I'm sure.
They're talking, they're mingling, they're trying to figure out numbers, and then the quote-unquote tampering period, they already have it solidified, finalized, and then the next day or the next, day or so?
I think it's maybe a 2-day tampering period, I want to say.
Yeah, so next day or so, they'll finalize it, and then they'll become teammates wherever they're going, wherever they're going.
I think it's hilarious that the NFL has a window of time that is literally labeled the tampering period. That is so strange to me. Like tampering shouldn't be an official status. Tampering is like you're tampering. You're whispering behind the scenes and starting to get stuff together. The fact that they have it labeled tampering period is just funny to me.
Look, they're just like, you guys do it anyway. Let's just label it.
Yeah.
And go on because this is our game. This is our sport. We get to decide what goes on.
Yeah. So that's 1 week from today, and we got draft stuff, up to our eyeballs in what should be or could be a really, really impactful draft for the Denver Broncos. And luckily this time around for Broncos country, Denver's not looking for a quarterback. For the first time in over 10 years.
Man, that feels good.
The Broncos are returning the same coach and the same quarterback in tandem, which is refreshing but also disturbing that 10 years went by without that same sequence.
Same coach, same offensive coordinator, same defensive coordinator, same general manager, same ownership, which is always great.
Yep,
but,
of course.
It hasn't been the case here in Denver. Like, this is where we're like, okay, we're going in the right direction. And it takes time for us to get things going. That's any team. That's any organization.
Yep.
But 2-3 more years from now, all right, looking at how it's going, and we talked about it earlier, Zach, with the money, and we're going to be out of Russell Wilson's deal and giving him money next year. The sky is going to be the limit for this team, especially when you have the quarterback.
That's right. That's right. You cannot build upward without a foundation. And when you're changing coach and quarterback literally every single year for over a decade, how can you possibly call that a foundation? That is a house that is built on sand. So it's different this time around, though. That's what makes it exciting. But I do think there was an exercise that I thought it would be worth going through because ESPN's Matt Miller polled NFL scouts, NFL decision makers, and analysts to help build this list. And it's the quarterbacks that were taken in the first round in the last 4 years, plus the two quarterbacks who are expected to be going in this year's first round, which is Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. And it's interesting because this list is constructed from only pre-draft grades, all right? Because if it wasn't, someone like, who was a surprise? Someone like maybe Justin Herbert would be closer to the top, or
Bo Nix. Bo Nix was a surprise.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
You know, 6th quarterback taken off the board last year and almost won Offensive Rookie of the Year, so that's a surprise.
Yes. So to make it fair, they only comprise this list of the pre-draft grades. So before any of these guys played a down of football. And so the number one graded pre-draft quarterback in the last 5 years is Caleb Williams, number 1 overall. This guy was considered a prodigy.
Generational talent.
Oh, that's our favorite phrase.
They would like to water it down.
Generational talent. What did you make of Caleb Williams' first year in the NFL?
You know, it was subpar. He could have done a better job at his job. But with that being said, Zach, I watched a couple games, and I know Drew grew up in Chicago or grew up liking the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, big
And I'll
Bears
tell
fan.
you this, Zach, watching that offensive line and what they did not do for Caleb Williams, that's the issue. There were times where the offensive line just didn't block anybody. It looked like the Bad News Bears, literally the Bad News Bears. And that hurts a rookie quarterback when you have to run around the pocket, when you're not feeling confident that your offensive line is going to hold up for 2 or 3 seconds. You can't do your job. Now, Caleb Williams likes to hold on to the football.
He does.
He likes to move around a lot to create plays. In the NFL, that can hurt you because everybody is good. Everybody is fast and disciplined. So would I like to see a lot more from Caleb Williams, the number 1 pick in the NFL draft? Of course. But also, if you're being picked as the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, it's because your team sucks.
Right, that's right. That's true. That's true.
What did you think?
Just way too many sacks.
Yeah.
Way too many sacks. 68 sacks for Caleb Williams.
But, Zach, that line was horrible.
No question. No question. So he's the number one in the last half decade, the number one graded quarterback. Trevor Lawrence is number 2. This is pre-draft grades only. Caleb Williams, number 1. Trevor Lawrence, number 2. Joe Burrow, number 3. Jaden Daniels, the 4th highest pre-draft quarterback in the last half decade, followed by Drake May to round out the top 5, according to ESPN's Matt Miller, who polled NFL scouts, decision makers, and analysts to help grade this list or help create this list. Of those top 5, Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, who do you believe in the most here moving forward?
Oh, no doubt Joe Burrow.
Followed by who?
Followed by, I'm going to go with Jaden Daniels.
I agree.
Jaden Daniels almost took his team to the Super Bowl. He was one game away from the Super Bowl. The year before Jaden Daniels got there, the Washington Commanders only won 4 games. He's young. He's talented. They're bringing weapons around him. They got Deebo Samuel coming into the build.
Yeah, what do you make of that?
You know, I like it. I like it for someone like Jaden Daniels. And Deebo Samuel and Jaden Daniels have a good relationship.
Okay.
And so maybe that helps out. You're adding weapons. That's something that we need to do for Bo Nix, and hopefully that happens for us when we hit the free agent market here soon, and then the draft. So I like it for Jaden Daniels, and he would be my next. Joe Burrow number 1, Jaden Daniels number 2. I don't believe in Trevor Lawrence. I am not a believer in Trevor Lawrence. He has had all this hype and still does. He got paid when he probably shouldn't have. And to me, it's like you have to win more playoff games for me to be a believer in you. Joe Burrow, he's a couple pieces away from going back to the Super Bowl.
I look at Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence is to the Jags to what Justin Herbert is to the Chargers. Supremely talented. Herbert's already had a better career, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're kind of disrespecting Herbert right there now.
But what has Herbert done that Trevor Lawrence hasn't?
Yeah.
They both haven't really done much of anything, have they?
No. Underperformed.
Yeah.
Underperformed.
Considering their talents. So according to this list, pre-draft grades only, that's the first 5 in the last half decade. Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. Here are the next batch of 5, okay? And we're waiting to hear Shedeur Sanders' name. We're waiting to hear Bo Nix's name. It's Tua, Justin Herbert, Bryce Young, Zach Wilson, and C.J. Stroud. Those are the next 5 from pre-draft grades only.
Our Zach Wilson?
Yes. Isn't that something? So there's going to be 2 Broncos on this list. The next 5, actually, before we move on, who among those 5, who do you believe in the most? Tua, Justin Herbert, Bryce Young, Zach Wilson, C.J. Stroud.
I'm going with C.J. Stroud.
Agreed.
He's proven it 2 years in a row. He's only been in the league 2 years. He's going 2 years. He's going on his 3rd year this year. And he's a really good quarterback. The following person after C.J. Stroud that I would believe in is Herbert. Herbert still gets his team to either close to the playoffs or the playoffs, and he does well in the regular season. It's the postseason where Herbert struggles.
And I got to ask, who would be your next one from that batch of 5?
We're going number 3. I'm going to go with Tua, man. I'm not going with Zach Wilson.
No,
who's a third stringer, and Bryce Young just hasn't shown us enough.
Yeah, for me, it was between Bryce Young and Tua, and with the question marks, if you're starting a team right now, and
I'm taking Tua.
You're taking Tua?
I'm taking Tua, Zach. Other than the head injuries.
Other than that, other than his brains being put to applesauce.
He's very talented, and I was able to have a up close and personal look at Tua because I played for him.
Sure.
And the man, one, has a great arm, very smart, gets the ball out of his hands fast, more athletic than we think. See, I think that people tend to forget Tua had a major hip injury.
That's right.
Yep. You know, and that stopped him for a long time to be able to move. He's feeling a lot better, but he can't stay healthy with his head. It's all mushed up right now. So
I think I would actually take Bryce Young.
Yeah?
Yeah, because of what I saw the second half of this year, small sample size, I know. And I just don't trust Tua. I just don't trust him to stay healthy, and obviously that's out of his control here. So here are the next batch of 5. And if you're just joining us, ESPN polled NFL scouts, decision makers, and analysts to help build this list of every quarterback taken in the first round in the last 5 years using pre-draft grades only. We got through the first 10. All right. The next batch of 5 is J.J. McCarthy, Trey Lance, Anthony Richardson, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones.
Ooh.
all had better pre-draft grades than someone like Bo Nix, who we haven't heard his name.
Yep.
We still haven't heard Shedeur Sanders' name as well. What do you make of that list of 5, and who would you take to move forward with between J.J. McCarthy, Trey Lance, Anthony Richardson, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones?
Man, to be honest with you, this is a bad list.
It is.
This is a bad group of quarterbacks.
It is.
Bad group. I might just go with my backup, Zach. I'm sorry. I might just go with the backup. Nah, but if I had to choose,
and again, just to emphasize,
this is hard, man.
All these quarterbacks that we just named, this is 11 through 15 of the last half decade, all these guys had better pre-draft grades than the quarterback here in Denver, as well as Shedeur Sanders.
I would have to choose Justin Fields. I'm going for Justin Fields, one, because of what he has done. He's had his moments where he has had great games, explosive games with his arm and with his legs. He was able to win games with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then you get benched because Russ was their guy. So Justin Fields would be number one for me. I can't go for someone like J.J. McCarthy, Zach. I don't know anything about the man. And even when he was with the Michigan Wolverines, Michigan was a run-first, pass-second team. Justin Fields was more of like, hey, the ball's always in his hands. He was creating plays. So I would have to go with Justin Fields. And then following that up, I guess Mac Jones.
Right.
That's your boy. You love him. Like poor Mac Jones.
I do think he was set up to fail in New England after a good rookie year. I would literally, among this group of 5, Phil, I would take J.J. McCarthy.
J.J.?
I would literally bet on the unknown.
Come on, Zach.
Phil, I would bet on the unknown over Trey Lance, Anthony Richardson, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones. I might take Anthony Richardson. He's just so talented, but he can't stay healthy.
Anthony Richardson's he's going to be in a quarterback battle now. The general manager came out and said, hey, there's going to be a battle at the quarterback position, whoever we bring in.
Really?
Yes.
I did not see that.
Yeah. Yes. There's
fun.
going to be a quarterback battle, and so that's who you're taking.
Maybe they'll do a triple threat like we did here in Denver.
It worked for us.
Let's bring in 2 more guys to compete with our first rounder.
Zach Wilson, get in there.
And then here are the final group. Okay, so we still haven't heard Bo Nix's name, still haven't heard Shedeur Sanders' name. This is pre-draft grades of every quarterback in the last 5 years. Pre-draft grades only. Okay, here are the names we've gotten through. This is ranked. Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Tua, Justin Herbert, Bryce Young, Zach Wilson, C.J. Stroud, J.J. McCarthy, Trey Lance, Anthony Richardson, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, and here's the rest of the list. Jordan Love, Bo Nix.
Bo.
You finally get to Bo Nix.
That's Bo.
Followed by Cam Ward, Michael Penix Jr., Shedeur Sanders, and Kenny Pickett. So Bo, of any quarterback in the last half decade selected, and there's a lot of them, we just named them, Bo is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th from the bottom, just ahead of Cam Ward. Cam Ward, who may go number 1 in this draft, according to pre-draft grades only, is ahead of only in the last 5 years Michael Penix Jr., Shedeur Sanders, and Kenny Pickett. And the only quarterback that Shedeur Sanders is ahead of, pre-draft grades only, in the last half decade is Kenny Pickett. What do you think?
Well, where are we starting with Bo first? Like, why is Bo so damn far down the list?
Pre-draft grades only.
And so what do you think they took into consideration? Like just the dump offs?
Yes.
Bo Nix transferring from Auburn to the Oregon?
Yep.
All
that stuff. All that stuff that got said last year when he walked across that podium with the 12th overall pick. This guy's he's manufactured from Oregon system. He doesn't throw it beyond the sticks.
Yep.
The line of scrimmage inflates the line of scrimmage completions inflate his completion percentage.
Not a great athlete. Couldn't handle it in the SEC at Auburn. And you have all these guys graded ahead of him, and he went and had the second best statistical season of any rookie quarterback in NFL history. See, that's why you don't just listen to somebody or look at a quarterback from a team, a big name team. Let's just say Alabama, and say that quarterback's going to be good in the NFL. Like, he has to fit the system. He has to fit the mold. You have to do your research on him. What does the kid look like as a quarterback, but also as a player? That CEO energy, that's something that we all found out really quick with Bo, is like, hey, he's all about his business. That's the type of quarterback that you want in your building. Now, with that being said, you talk about Shedeur Sanders pretty much being dead last, second to dead last.
Yeah, I was honestly I didn't know where he was going to come in on this, but it was still surprising that pre-draft grades only, Shedeur ahead of only Kenny Pickett in the last 5 years.
So what do you think that reasoning's for? Because I think it's bull crap. I mean, Shedeur Sanders was able to take two different teams. All right, Jackson State and Colorado. Now, when he was with Jackson State, everybody say, "Hey, well, this is the Power Four now," and it's not Jackson State, and that you're gonna get a rude awakening pretty much, and it's not gonna be the same. And Shedeur Sanders lit it up at the Power Four level, not just for 1 year, but for 2 years. That's why he's gonna be a first-round draft pick. Shedeur Sanders is a tough quarterback that's consistent, that's smart, that makes plays and creates opportunities. Yes, does he hold on to the ball longer than he needs to? Of course. And Shedeur Sanders has stated that as well, and he knows he needs to work on that. But when you have an offensive line that can hold up longer than, let's just say, the Chicago Bears offensive line is for Caleb Williams, it will help you out. That's a luxury that Bo Nix has had to help out with his progression, his development. If Shedeur Sanders can continue to develop and get rid of the ball fast, which he can do. We saw it at the TCU game.
Yeah, good recall,
The first time that Shedeur Sanders was at Colorado Buffalo on that football field.
Dude.
So he can do it. And I think that he takes coaching more than a lot of people think he does. He should be on this list a little bit further up the list than where he's at right now.
It's interesting because you would think that with the last name Sanders, with his father being Deion, an absolute icon in this sport, that would give him a bit of a bump. But it does nothing for him in the pre-draft process. It doesn't. And I think that, one of the biggest things or takeaways or maybe even a lesson even that I take away from this, when you look back at a sample size that's a half decade and you look at as many quarterbacks as get drafted in the first round as they do, I mean, how many has it been? I think it's 21, including Cam Ward and Shedeur, in addition to the 19 that went in the last 4 drafts. We talk, and when I say we, I don't mean you and I mean the NFL community talks oftentimes in absolutes when it comes to these people coming out of college, what they're going to be, what they're not going to be, and we say it with this conviction that we know, like we have a crystal ball. And then when you look back at the actual pre-draft grades, Phil, I don't know who I would pick over Bo Nix right now. Who is one of the worst?
I was just thinking that, Zach. I was going down the list because I know you like to play those head games. So I'm like, okay, Zach's gonna probably ask, who would we draft if it wasn't Bo Nix, or who would we draft compared to Bo Nix?
Yeah, and it also just shows me how flawed the scouting community is, and I don't mean that in any rude way. For a guy like Cecil or any of these guys that we go through their mocks, it's just so hard to predict who these human beings. It's similar to recruiting a 17-year-old to who he's going to be at 21 in college. This is like a steroid version of that. And when you look back at 5 years,
but the thing is, this is where it comes down to a great fit.
Right.
This is where someone like Sean has shined. Where it's like, hey, he may not be the sexy pick, but he fits the mold of what I need done. And he can run my system, and he's tough. And so when you deal with a lot of these quarterbacks, the reason why these quarterbacks, a lot of them are not having the success like a Bo Nix is you're the first quarterback taken off the board. And we talked about this earlier before we started this segment was when you're the first quarterback or the first player off the board, usually your team sucks butt.
Yep.
I'm sorry to say, but it's just bad.
Sure, yeah.
And so it's hard for the development of a quarterback, a young 21-year-old quarterback, to have success when you don't have an offensive line, you don't have a running back, you don't have the receivers, your defense is subpar. It sucks. But for Bo Nix, he got put in a great situation that was not his fault. That was the draft analysts and all that putting him down, and Sean smiling and say, keep putting him down because we're picking him up. Because we do have the offensive line because we built from the inside out. We do have a consistent receiver. We do need a running back and a tight end, but we have something to start with, and we have a defense that is still strong enough to do something, and they look better. They started off weak at the beginning of that year, Zach, but they got better and they got stronger as the year went on. And so when you have that recipe, it helps a young quarterback out. Bo Nix got put in a really good situation, and he took advantage of it.
He did. And we talked before the season ever started. What situation would you rather be in for a first-year quarterback? Chicago with way better on-paper skill position players.
Yep.
And running backs, tight ends, and wide receivers in a way that Denver didn't have? Or would you rather have the Broncos' offensive line and the lackluster skill position players in a way that Chicago doesn't have with their guys up front? And we just agreed. You and I, we disagree on so much, but we agree fundamentally and philosophically building a football team in the trenches first, second, and third. Like, it's just the most important thing in football. And when I look at this list in terms of this fit here in Denver, which is the only thing that we care about, okay, what quarterback that's on this list, and I'm not, and there can be a few of them.
Yeah.
Would you rather have over Bo Nix that had higher pre-draft grades than Bo Nix?
Well, I think number one would have to be Joey B.
Sure.
Joe Burrow.
Yep.
You know, and that's like without a doubt.
Yep.
After that,
Jaden?
you would have to put Jaden. We've been kind of talking about how Jaden's a little bit better than Bo right now, or had a better season than Bo. To say it like that.
It's super fair.
After that,
Justin Herbert?
yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like you're trying to trick me right now. Look
Not
at that
trying to trick
smile.
you.
Justin Herbert. Would you put Justin Herbert over Bo Nix? Put you on the spot.
I'm gonna ride the fence here in that I don't have enough substance to draw from why I would rather have Bo Nix. There's more of a sample and more great stuff with Justin Herbert to draw from that why he would be a better fit here than Bo. And the Broncos lost twice to Justin Herbert this year. And you see some of the throws that Herbert made. I remember the one throw he went on the move to the left and throwing up the field with his right arm.
He's more athletic than people give him credit for.
It was ridiculous.
And he only threw 3 interceptions before he met Denver that last time that Denver met the Chargers. And then
yeah, good memory.
You know, so he had 3 interceptions. So he takes care of the football.
He really does. But in my gut, in a way that I can't prove, I still want to bet on Bo. And maybe it's a little bit of what I want to happen creeping in, you know? But does that make sense?
No, it does.
Like, I don't have enough of an argument to win in front of a jury. But in my gut, I feel like I'm going to have to give the check to Herbert here. I'm going to have to. And then beyond that, who else on this list? And if you're just joining us, ESPN ranked every first-round quarterback in the last 5 years according to their pre-draft grade. Shedeur Sanders is nearly dead last. He's only ahead of Kenny Pickett. But Bo Nix is only a couple slots in front of him with nearly every quarterback outside of 4 had better pre-draft grades. And which one would we rather have here in Denver?
I mean, you would have to put, if you're going to go with Herbert, all right, if you're on the fences with Herbert, C.J. Stroud would have to be up there too.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay. And then beyond that,
I would still put Jordan Love.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because of what he has done. And I'm not docking any points for Bo. But Jordan Love has taken his team to the playoffs at least twice already. And he's had success.
That's fair. It's fair. But of 15 quarterbacks ranked ahead of Bo, pre-draft grades only, we take 4, maybe 5 of them.
Yeah, that's wild.
That's it. So, all right. Interesting lesson. Be careful getting swept up into the speaking in absolutes here as we're in draft season on who these guys are going to be or aren't